YouTube. Today I'm going to be reading Chapter 7 of Prisoner B-3087. I think, yeah, it should be Chapter 7, right? Yeah, Chapter 7. Okay, so here we go. And it's beginning on page 48. Chapter 7. Jews of Krakow. The announcement blared from speakers. Get up, get out, get moving. 7,000 volunteers are needed for the resettlement camps. The asked for volunteers had not appeared in Ziegody Square the next morning, and the Germans were not happy. Just after dawn, they drove through the streets of the ghetto in trucks with big speakers on them, yelling at us to come out. It will be worse if you hide, they called. Come out now and all will be forgiven. I didn't believe them. None of us did. Uncle Moshe, Aunt Gazella, and my cousin Saitka were all there with us. They had decided to come hide in our pigeon coop. So had the rest of my aunts and uncles and cousins. There were 12 of us, all crammed inside the little shack on the roof. It was too crowded, but there was no way we would turn them away. Everyone was afraid of this new announcement. We had seen too many smaller resettlements to take it lightly. At least all of us pressed together in the coop helped keep us warm. We couldn't start a fire or the smoke would give us away. A gunshot rang out. Crack. A woman screamed. Pop, 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 pop went a machine gun. I scrambled to the little window in our coop where we'd hung a blanket to hide us. Yank it. No, my mother whispered, but I had to see. Across the street was a building that had been turned into a hospital. I watched through a hole in the blanket as the Nazis pushed sick people out the door and down the steps. Some of them were too weak to walk and collapsed on the pavement. They cried out piteously. What's happening? Moshe asked. My heart was in my throat, but I managed to answer. Sick people, old people. They're taking them out of the hospital. They can't be taken into the work camps or for resettlements, Moshe said. His voice was quiet, but urgent. They would never take the sick and old away to work. They're taking them to die, and anyone else with them. As I watched, the Nazis walked up behind the sick people from the hospital and started to shoot. Bodies fell on bodies, a great pile of them in the street. They fell with terrible screams. I pulled away from the window, unable to watch any more. No, I said. They're not taking them away. They're shooting them right here. Not even Uncle Moshe had anything to say to that. My mother reached for my hand and pulled me back to her. We sat like that for hours, listening to the gunshots and the screams in the street. My younger cousins huddled next to their mothers, weeping on and off quietly. I was terrified just like they were, but I wasn't going to cry. I was a man now. I reminded myself I was a man, and I wanted to do something to stop the Nazis, to save my family. I asked myself over and over again what I could do to help, but I had no answer. Shunk, shunk. The big metal door to the roof rattled. Someone was trying to come through. I held my breath listening. Shunk, 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 shunk. Would the steel bars hold? Would whoever was on the other side start shooting? I watched my mother's eyes grow wide again, watched her chest heave as she breathed faster and faster. She looked like she might scream, which would give us away for sure. My mother hugged her close, holding her face to his shoulder. Shunk, 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 shunk. I waited for a gunshot, waited, but then for whatever reason the rattling stopped and whoever it was went away. We held still, none of us daring to breathe, waiting for someone to try to come through again. But an hour passed, and then another, and no one came back. That evening the trucks drove through the streets again with a message for us. Jews of Krakow, unless everyone comes to Ziegody Square for selection, this ghetto will be liquidated. If you do not come out of your houses by 6 p.m., everyone will be shot on sight when we find you. Liquidated. Do you hear that? Uncle Abraham said. Liquidated. Like it's a business decision. They will get rid of us like so many old pairs of shoes. We should go, Moshe said. He stood. You heard them. They will kill us if we don't. They'll kill us if we do, I said. They said they will liquidate the ghetto only if we do not come out. By hiding, we seal our death warrant, Moshi said. No, I said. I could feel my pulse racing. We can't trust them. It's a trick. I know it is. It's a trick to get us to come out of our hiding place. You're still a boy, Yannick. Even if you've had your bar mitzvah, listen to me. All of you, if we stay here and we are found, we'll be shot, Moshi argued. He opened the door to the coop. We have to go now. If we do what they say, they may let us live. My uncles and cousins started arguing about it. Dalwood agreed with Moshi. Abraham wanted to stay. My aunts argued too, and the younger children started to cry. I looked to my parents to see what they wanted, but my mother's face was still buried in my father's shoulder, and he was comforting her. Tears welled up in my eyes. I wasn't a boy. Not anymore. Not after my bar mitzvah. Not after a year in the Krakow ghetto. I knew I had to be a grown-up now. For my parents. For everyone. I pushed past Uncle Moshi and marched to the big metal door. I yanked off the steel bars and flung the door open with a clang. There, I said, go if you want to leave so badly. If you want to hand yourself over to those killers, then do it right now. But I'm not. I've seen what the Nazis think of us, how they treat us. We all have. So they kill us if they find us here. If we go down there on our way, they will most certainly kill us. At least if we hide out here, there's a chance they won't find us. That's a chance I'm willing to take. My outburst shut everyone else up. They all stared at one another without speaking until my father rose. Yannick speaks with the wisdom of the prophet Isaiah, he said softly, then quoted, Come, my people, and shut your doors behind you. Hide yourselves for a little while until the wrath is past. He cleared his throat and looked around. Mina and I are staying too. One by one the others agreed, until even Uncle Moshi sat down and was quiet. I closed the door and slid the steel bars back in place, making sure they were tight. Night fell, and with it came more gunshots, more screams from the streets below. The deportation lasted for 2 days, but on the third day, when the sun rose, there were no more trucks in the streets, no more gunshots, no more Nazis. They did not liquidate the entire ghetto as they had promised. Once their quota was filled, they went away again. 7,000 Jews had been collected and taken away to die, but we were not among them. If you want to hear Chapter 8 of Prisoner B-3087, then look for my next video.